Okay, so the kind of thing that we're going to be working today is hardware. So what is hardware? Hardware is the physical makeup of a computer. So we'll be looking at the case, the PSU, the power supply unit. We'll be looking at some cables such as SATA, Molex, PCI, and PCIe. We'll look at some fans and air cables, the motherboard, the RAM, which stands for random access memory, graphics processing unit, the GPU, the input-output shield with its connections, the heatsink, CPU, and hard disk and solid-state drive as well. Okay, first thing we gotta do is open up this case. So, as we can see on this computer, there's these little screws, which you've already seen before. When we take open these screws, it will open like so. Some of these screws, as you can see, it has like a spring, so they sometimes get locked. But we just take that out and then pull this out like so. Usually I like setting it down and then there we go.
Ooh, that's different.
Yes, but as you can see by some dust residue right there, it's a little dusty. Do you mind if you can hold this camera and just like look inside the PC?
Yes.
Cool, thank you. You're going to be my cameraman.
Yeah.
Big responsibility. Okay, so inside this case, they contain the hardware components. So as you can see right here is the heat sink. Underneath the heat sink is going to be your CPU. These are your PC and PCIe slots. As we could see over here, these are your RAM modules. This is going to be your this is your power supply, so the PSU. This is your optical drive right here, and these are some SATA connectors. This right here is your hard drive, and usually down below there's some fans. So there's some fans right here, and I believe. Well, doesn't seem like there's that many fans. Usually for a PC build like this, it's really good. Yep, you're right. So fans are right there. I'm pretty sure we could take this off. Yep, fans right there, as you can see. We're going to be taking out this PSU, the power supply unit. And usually for things like this, as you can see, it's connected by some cables and by interlodging right here. So this one, I've done with this a few times, but they're snagged on here by some sort of locking mechanism. So you have to pull it a few times. And trust me, when we put this back together, it's going to be a pain in the butt putting this PSU back, but it'll be quite alright. There we go. And then of course we have the cables. So these cables right here are going to be basically your these are going to be your PSU cables. They don't usually have a definition of the name, but you can see P1 right there. That's usually the name definition for these PSU cables. So take them out. Another cable right here.
And then that's a different kind, I think.
Yeah, I wonder if that's a latch. There's some latching cables, but no, this one might just be wiggle. There we go. It's just wiggle.
Perfect.
So boom, that's PSU right there. All right.
Is that a hard or a solid state?
That's a HDD, so hard drive. That's a hard disk drive right there. And of course, these are your. You have 2x2 4-pin PSU cables. This one's a 2x3, and then this one's just a pin cable. And of course, you can differentiate names by P1, and this one has the P3. So P1, of course, was the 3x2, and the P2 was the 2x2 stationed over here. Okay, let's see what we have next. Take apart. Now we have all right, and then we have some of the cables. So like I said before, these are the PSU cables. This one seems to be another PSU cable right here. These seem to be some SATA cables. At least I think so. Let me unplug this. Yeah, these are SATA cables, and they are connecting to your optical drive right here.
So those are data?
Yes, most of them are data, and they're meant for the motherboard to tell. They're meant for like the optical drive or the hard drive to tell the motherboard, hey, I have some data in here. I want you to access me. Let's see here. There was some PCIe. This one doesn't have a PCIe. Usually PCIe is good for like graphic cards. But this one, as you can see, they don't have any graphic cards here. What was the other one? So Molex. Molex cables are generally used for like floppy disks and for CD emulators.
So older stuff.
Yes, Molex is very old. And those are this is the SATA, this is Molex, and then those are your PCIe's or your your PSU cables, so your power supply unit cables. So these can be either for power or, as stated, for PCIe for the graphic card cables. And then those are some other cables I can see here. This is a 24-pin cable. This is going to be a CPU cable. This one's a PCIe. Another PCIe. This one is a SATA. And then these seem to be some Molexes, and they seem to be a Molex to PSU cables. So what's nice about old computers is that they really didn't get hot that fast because their CPUs were relatively weak compared to nowadays.
Now we have water cooling.
Yeah, nowadays they get so hot you actually need water to cool it down. Okay, next thing that we want to disassemble is fans. So fans, fans are basically the way to cool your computer down. I like that little image that I found. That would definitely cool down your CPU, your computer.
Honestly, I feel like it wouldn't because it's not much direct airflow. It's
it definitely wouldn't.
It's hitting everything but the CPU.
Yes, and what's the thing you gotta think about fans, right? Is that you need to consider input air and output air. So where the input of the air is coming from and where the output of the air is going. So what's nice about this little design is that it's taking air from this side, right, pushing out this way, and then, not going to lie, it's bad airflow, but it eventually comes down this way, okay? And well, thankfully, next to the heat sink, it just cools it all down and transports the heat all the way over there. Which, obviously, this has another fan, so this takes in the hot air from over here and pushes out that way. Okay, well, let's try to disassemble this this fan right here. So, I believe...
I think that's how this faceplate comes off.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we gotta take this off.
Oof. Oh my.
Oh yeah. Oh.
That's bad.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
It has an empty hard drive slot right there below the.
Oh, that is terrible. I do not want to take this out. Whatever.
I don't want to touch that.
So yeah.
Oh, and it's in there.
As you can see, we have our USB cables and then our jack cables. There we go. Yeah. Right there.
Headphones and stuff.
Okay, so we have to take this and
it's just caked. It's like glued.
I know. So first thing we gotta do is take off these screws, which there are so many. Oof.
Now that your screws are out, label them.
Yes, I definitely needed to state that. Now that your screws are out, we gotta label them. So let's label them something like, oh yeah, you know what? How about lower optical drive?
And then side.
Definitely gotta make sure you label your screws, because if they get mixed up, you're gonna have a very hard time trying to put them back together. No. Okay. So now that we haven't gotten the fan out yet.
Because there's the silver ones, which are the lower, and then the black ones, which are on the side. So we'll make sure we also keep these two separated slightly. True.
You're right. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, now we have to figure out how this thing dislodges. Yeah, so I believe the next thing that we have is the optical drive. Let's find out. Let's see if that's the next thing, actually. So the next thing that we're going to disassemble is the hardware. And you can see here, there's a lot of screws in the hardware. So, for instance, there's screws right there. There's a screw right there. There's a screw right there. There's a lot of screws right there. So first we got to take out the cables. So we gotta say the cable right there. Got a PSU cable right here. Oh, gotta get your thumb in there. There we go. I believe there's some other cables, but I'm not sure. Yep, we got a lot of cables right here. You gotta take these out. They're not too hard to take out, fortunately. And I believe that's another power cable right there. Boom. So now, I believe that is it, and we start unscrewing the cables. This is where we cut.
Oh, we missed another one.
Oh, I missed one? All right, perfect.
Okay.
Oh.
Now, it would be a good idea to mark the cables, but we know what we're doing.
yes, it would be a good idea to mark the cables. However, as you can see, they're color-coded.
Yep.
So it's fine. Okay, guys. So we got the heatsink taken out right now. And we have the CPU exposed, which is hooked by a leverage. We take the leverage off, and there it is. As you can see, it's connected by some screws here, and we'll take that off momentarily. All right, guys, so we took the CPU out from the CPU socket. Apparently, these screws are actually connected to the hatch. Right now, we have 4 GB RAM that we will take out. So, you want to be the cameraman again?
Yep.
Okay. So, to dislodge CPU RAMs, motherboard RAMs, all you gotta do is take out these latches, which makes a nice clicking sound. And then, there we go.
This is 1RX8 PC3L. I think this is PC3L RAM. Set that over here with the stuffs.
Don't worry, guys, I'm just gonna take a quick snack.
And then the labeled screws, because you gotta keep those separated.
Yes, so we got a very good organization set up right here. So right now we have the optical drive, the one of the casings for our case, the PSU, the power supply unit, the heatsink, the hard drive, some RAM, the CPU, the entire freaking. This is just the case right here, which with the fan, and then we have the GPU, which this one doesn't come with the GPU, but these PCIe slots right here would hold your GPU, but obviously there's none right there. And then the I/O shield. So the I/O shield on this one is actually integrated to the case, as we can see here. And usually what the I/O shield does is just protects your connectors on your motherboard, but I'm glad we don't have to deal with an I/O shield. They're actually pretty annoying. As you can tell by my little meme here, if you forget putting your I/O shield on your motherboard, you have to disassemble your entire PC again, just put it back on. So of course the HDD and SSD we already took apart, which was very simple as it was only contained in the latch system. Most HDDs, right, have a disk inside here that rotate to actually store. HDDs are actually very slow. SSDs are the ones that you want to actually have, as they use electrical components, while this one is a spinning around disk. So this definitely illustrates how the difference between HDD and SSD, right? SSDs are faster, like a cheetah. HDDs are like a fat cat. They don't even run.
It has a lot of space, but it's slow. It has a lot of speed, but it doesn't have as much space.
Here's the thing, right? SSDs are actually pretty expensive. HDDs are pretty cheap. HDDs, you can actually get a lot more storage than you can with an SSD, right?
And don't typically people run hard drives through the solid state, so that things like a launcher would be kept on the hard drive instead of the SSD, and the SSD would be something you need to get. It's like your files themselves. Like the game file would be an SSD, and then the launcher would be the hard drive. Kind of a thing. So
like you're saying you have an SSD and an HDD on the same device?
Yeah.
And then...
Because I know people use them in couple, like, together at the same time.
Yeah, I think I've seen some instances where people do, like, you know, like booting up your operating system, playing games and stuff like that on SSDs, and like really big files, right? Like data sets and stuff like that, we just put on there.
Yeah.
And then, you know, just have a very good processing unit. Alright guys, that seems to be all the components for disassembling a PC. Got the optical drive right there. Oh, sorry. The PSU right there. The optical drive, the case panel, heatsink, HDD, the CPU, RAM, some screws that we labeled right there, the case, the fan, the motherboard, the PCIe slots, the RAM slots, and of course, this little module. And the cables to go with it as well. So that seems to be it, and we'll be wrapping this club right now.